Hello, welcome. Welcome to all the wonderful ladies that are here to learn about polycystic ovary syndrome, also known as PCOS. This is a very dear to my heart subject as I suffered with polycystic ovary syndrome myself. And the purpose of this video is to share my experience with you, what I've learned over the years, how I was able to overcome it, what I did, what I used to help myself, and of course, all the modalities that I discovered. If you do not know me, hi, my name is Magdalena. I am a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. I am a certified recall healing health coach. I am acupuncturist, I am an herbalist, and I have an amazing story that I share as much as I can of overcoming 9 autoimmune diseases. And this is just a part of my journey of what I've been able to learn along the way. So the purpose of this video is for educational purposes only. I am not giving you a medical advice. I cannot diagnose you, I cannot treat you, I don't know you. So please keep that in mind. I am sharing with you my experience. And within that, you may find whether or not there's some similarities in your life. And then this will perhaps set you on a path that you need to take in order to heal yourself, because we are ultimately responsible for our own healing. Nobody can heal us. This is the hard part that I learned along the way, guys. And it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking when I heard it for the first time, that nothing happens for no reason. And if something happened to me, it means I attracted it. It resonated with the frequency of my vibration. So I am responsible for fixing it or for improving my life. And, I read a lot of books. I'm a book nerd. This year, I read quite many wonderful books, and every single one of them says that once you take responsibility for your own life, everything changes, everything. But let's start the presentation. Again, not a medical advice, but if you would like assistance, if you would like to work with me, I will talk a lot about herbs from Cellcore because I used their protocols before I became their practitioner. So before I got my medical degree in acupuncture and herbs, I was their client, and this is how I got better. So I'm going to share with you everything that I've done in order to get to where I am right now. And it's a wonderful place to be. So DM me on Instagram, visit my website. We'll talk about it later. And you can start improving your health today. Of course, healing is multidimensional. So this is what I came to learn on my autoimmune journey. I was diagnosed with 9 autoimmune diseases over 11 years ago, and I'm in full remission. I've been for quite a few years, yes. And I feel better now at 44 than I did when I was 20. And on my journey, I discovered that there are 3 aspects of every condition, every disease, every sickness, every mental issue. There's always 3 aspects: the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, and energetical aspect. So the physical aspect, think about it in Western medicine terms, right? It's something very visible. It's your symptoms, it's your diet, it's your environment. It's something very physical in your life that affects you. Like for me, I got much worse when I was living in mold, when I was eating junk, when I was smoking cigarettes, when I was drinking alcohol, occasionally on regular basis. So all of those things are very physical that we can address almost right away. Emotional aspect, think about it as in German New Medicine terms, which is recall healing is actually a part of German New Medicine. And it's very fascinating because it explains how what we feel, all of our emotions, how if we do not process them correctly, if we do not understand them, they will cause disease. They will, every single cell in your body is resonating with what you think. I absolutely love the biology of the cell. I'm currently researching that. And so, even deeper, the science tells us today that our emotions will affect not just how your body feels, but how your body looks. Think about it. Every emotion that we have is caused by our thought. The thoughts are caused are the thoughts are influenced by our core beliefs. So it all starts with the programming we received as children. We developed our core beliefs. Every single one of us has something that they believe in, whether we are aware of it or not. I was not. And so that influences my thoughts, and the thoughts influence how my body feels because every single cell is always listening. And then energetical aspect. So think about it as traditional Chinese medicine. It's the energy. Everything is energy. Everything resonates. So this is very much quantum physics, metaphysics. This is very much explaining the whole theory of the world. There's many wonderful authors out there who explained this in much detail. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, some of the wonderful ones, just to name. If you're interested to deepen this subject, and I highly recommend you do, you can visit my Instagram page where every year I share the 10 books that I read that influenced me the most. And that post is coming up soon. So here are some of what my symptoms, what I experienced when I was diagnosed at 21. So right away, I gained weight, especially in my belly. It was like a bloat, like right away, like out of thin air. And the interesting fact is that this happened right after I moved in with my boyfriend at a time, whom I married. And I was married for 22 years, and we recently divorced. And so the situation is not a coincidence. Let's just say everything was according to plan. It was happening for a reason. I developed acne, hair loss, huge patches of hair loss, lack of menstruation. So my first symptom was actually my period stopped for 6 months. And I wasn't pregnant. I knew I wasn't pregnant. So, and then I developed a huge abdominal pain that put me in ER. And then they said, oh, okay, you have cysts. So they sent me to a gynecologist. Gynecologist says, oh, well, we know that you have cysts. They did some blood work and they said it's polycystic ovary syndrome. And the only way that they could treat me was with birth control, which I didn't want at the time because I did take birth control before and I was just done with it. Abdominal pain, a big one, and ovarian cysts. That's a very big one. And guys, if you know anyone who had PCOS, or if you have PCOS, you know how painful that can be. When that cyst bursts, I've heard stories of people ending up in ER. It didn't happen to me, but I will tell you a story of one of them bursting because the body is amazing. Our body has been made to self-recover. Every single one of us has something called metabolism. And I explain this a lot because it's fascinating about our body. It is part of our DNA expression. We have metabolism. So metabolism, I always think about it in terms of catabolism and anabolism. So there's two aspects. Catabolism, like catastrophe, it breaks down. It's a process of breaking down a cell. Every single one of your cells dies at some point. And then anabolism comes where that same cell is renewed. Think about it in terms of your skin. We exfoliate every month, but you don't see it, right? Because the new cell is produced at the same time. And it's not that all of the cells die at the same time. It's a process. And so that process happens in every organ of your body, in every tissue. So we constantly regenerate, right? This is how fascinating our body is. Our body has literally been made to always renew itself. Think about it. Why do we get wrinkles? Why do we get the old look? It is not because we're aging. It's actually been proven in quantum physics and in science that it is lack of nutrients that go into the cell. So what is blocking the receptors in the cell, every single cell has receptors. What is blocking those receptors? Emotions. Emotions and the thoughts. So it's all connected. So this is what I've discovered. This is what worked for me so far. So let's move on. Okay, definition by World Health Organization. This is very Western medicine. Polycystic ovary syndrome, a common hormonal condition that affects women of reproductive age. Polycystic ovary syndrome symptoms cause hormonal imbalances, irregular periods, excess androgen levels, and cysts in ovaries, excess hair growth, fatigue, weight gain, bloating. Let me just tell you right now that it is established that in America, 5 to 6 million of women in reproductive age suffer with polycystic ovary syndrome. It's huge. And there are reasons that this is happening, yet nobody ever explains it to us. So I'm going to dive deep into the emotional aspect because it's so important. And again, nobody ever talks to us about this. When I found recall healing, when I started studying German new medicine, to me, it was like an awakening. It was like, oh, that makes so much sense emotionally. Okay. And remember, the expression, the manifestation of the body depends on our emotions. So common skin issues with polycystic ovary syndrome. So I just want you to be aware of that. I'm sure if you have PCOS, you already know. So facial redness, rosacea, that's very common. Dark velvety skin patches, seborrheic dermatitis, skin tags, keratosis, pilaris, hives. I have all of those. I had all of those. I'm still in a process of revising keratosis pilaris. It's huge. It was huge on my chest. It's getting much lower to a point where it's almost invisible. And I'm like, whoa, that there's magics to the herbs. Okay, and we do need to address this. This is very, very important. PCOS versus histamines. It is said that the conditions are linked due to hormonal imbalance nature, high estrogen. So this can trigger mast cells to release more histamine. And then if your DAO enzyme is impaired, if you have a mutation, histamine intolerance or allergies, there you go. There you go. You can't tell one from the other. Now, let me explain to you the vicious cycle that your doctor never will tell you because, well, number one, they don't have time during their 5-minute visit that you're there. And number two, they do not learn this in medical school. It actually took me a couple of books before I understood the process. So there's a vicious circle. I'm sorry, circle. So high estrogen. Number one sign of high estrogen is huge arms, huge, like really swollen, really swollen. That's where your excess estrogen goes because the liver couldn't, for some reason, excrete it. So yeah, number one reason for any hormonal imbalance is the liver issue, and we'll talk about it later. But high histamines or a diet filled with high histamine foods will increase estrogen. High estrogen will increase your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. High cortisol increases histamines. And so the circle goes. So yes, if you have high estrogen, you may have high histamines. If you have high cortisol, you may have high estrogen. So they're all related. And the doctor will never tell you, oh, try low histamine diet, because they just don't know. They do not understand the impact of the food on your body. I've been actually told by many doctors, many specialists, that my diet has nothing to do with my health. And I've discovered otherwise. That's why I became a nutritionist. And my life changed, completely changed, when I started doing the low histamine diet. And I have a video about it. Allergies, also about bloating. Those are very informational videos. And if you would like to learn more on this, I highly, highly recommend it. So also, Western medicine doesn't take into consideration your genetic mutations. Our genetic mutations are highly, highly influenced by our environment, inside and outside. Situation that reoccurs in your life, mistreatment, arguments, fights, that is repeated every day, will create hostile environment and will be the reason for fear. So they're directly influenced. Considering your situation, your environment is super important, guys. And we'll address it a little bit later too. Okay, this is the fun part. German New Medicine. So, what does German New Medicine and recall healing tell us about ovaries and cysts? It's all about motherhood. Now, if you never asked yourself those questions before you were diagnosed, now's the time. Before I dig into them, let me just tell you that when I met my husband, I am a mother of 3 children, but when I met my husband, I was 20. And the first thing I told him is, I don't ever want to get married and I don't ever want to have children. And what I was really telling him, it wasn't that somehow biologically I wasn't able to have children. What I was telling him in reality, that of course I didn't know back then, was I have no resources to be a good mother. No one taught me. I never had an example of good parenting. And I do not want to hurt little beings by being an inadequate mother. This is true. So whenever now I hear someone saying, I don't want to be a mother, it's not that they don't want to be a mother. It's that they don't have the tools, their resources in order to be a good one. And it has everything to do with their experience. But it's in your hands. It is completely in your hands. So the questions to ask yourselves are, can I be a mother? Can I be a good mother? Did I create a household of my dreams? Am I a queen in my castle? Meaning, are you number one in your husband's life or in your boyfriend's life? Are you treated like a queen? Do you receive queen treatment? Can I be the kind of mother I always want to have? Do I feel adequate or well prepared to be a mother? Your ovaries receive direct signaling from the brain. If you feel like your mother failed, and if you feel you don't know what it's like to be a good mother, you cannot become the mother that you always wanted to be. You always wanted to have, because ultimately that's what happened to me. I became the mother that I always wanted myself, for me and for my children. And that took many years of therapy, many years of reading resources, workshops, retreats with other women. I learned the skill. I learned what it is. And it's not sacrifice like they taught us. No, mothers don't have to sacrifice, but it's a very popular opinion. So those are the questions to consider. And then the body will respond. If you feel like you had an amazing mother, there should be no issues. If there are, they're of other nature. That's what recall healing tells us. And then you're going to ask me, well, but there's so many women who didn't, who had bad mothers, yet they did get pregnant very early. It all depends. We are all very individual. It depends on our thoughts. There is no two people on this earth that have exactly same thoughts. And this is why I love traditional Chinese medicine, because in traditional Chinese medicine, there's as many diagnoses, or we call them patterns, as there is people in this world, because we all have different reasons for our dysfunctions, for the dysfunctions of our bodies known as disease. So there is no two alike cases. And even polycystic ovary syndrome can be caused by the physical aspect of this world. And we'll talk about it too, because it's very important and quite common, actually. I don't want to say normal, but quite common. So this is the emotional aspect. Do you consider yourself, it doesn't matter if you have a boyfriend or not at the time that you were diagnosed, ask yourself a question. Could I be a great mother? If for some reason I got pregnant, would I be okay Would I handle it? Would I give it my best? Do I have enough energy? Am I ready? All those questions will steer you in the right direction because you will know. You will know. And then, my dears, all mothers make mistakes, all of them. And I love to always talk about it in my ebooks how let's not play the blaming game, let's play the understanding game. No parent ever wanted to hurt their child intentionally unless they're psychopathic. That there's no other explanation. Yeah, there's psychopaths in this world, but a lot of parents unconsciously is repeating the same patterns, the same behavioral patterns that they learned from their parents, who learned from their parents, who learned from their parents. So it's a generationally passed down, and we can break it. But blaming never solved an issue, never. So at the very beginning, when I started reading a lot and learning a lot, I was blaming my mother, I was blaming my father, I lived in blame, and guess what? I got much worse. It doesn't solve the issue. We all do what we can. We do, and they do too. And our parents gave us the greatest gift, that is our life. And that alone is a reason to be grateful. No matter what they did, no matter what they did. Guys, because if you understand energetically how hard it is to come to this planet as a reincarnation, you would know. So be the best mother you can be today. I will do a video on how to be a good mother in January. It will probably be my first video because there's a lot that we don't know. And heal your mother's wound. Now, I want you to understand something. Our core beliefs dictate our lives, basically. We live by what we believe in, and it doesn't show because it's very, it's in the mind, right? The mind is the invisible substance. We learned all of our core beliefs by watching our mother and by watching our father, by watching our caretakers, by watching our peers. We developed core beliefs. So everything you know about motherhood, you learned from your mother. It may or it may not be your core belief. I had a lot of beliefs that were very limiting, and I was self-sabotaging myself based on somebody else's beliefs because they were not mine. They were not mine. And what I did is I reprogrammed myself. But in order to do that, you have to know your core beliefs. And this is why I created a program, Prison of Beliefs, Insight into Relationships, which helps you uncover all of the beliefs. It's a self-paced work study program that you do on your own terms. And it's available on my website, umlacademy.com. And I highly recommend it because everything that was a breakthrough in my life is included in there. Its purpose is for you to get to know yourself because a lot of us do not know themselves. One of my beliefs about motherhood is that it's hard. It's hard. And so just because I had that belief, it was hard for me. I was losing energy and I didn't know why. And guess what? It's not hard. It's not. But I didn't know it is not. And when I found that it was not hard when you have enough support, because of course it's easy to say that when you have zero support. And my mother had zero support. She was alone. So it was hard for her. But I had support. And so for me, it was not hard. But once I found that it's not what my mother said it is, I started feeling guilty. And guilt and shame are the lowest frequencies. So it wasn't good for me. But I didn't understand that I was developing new beliefs, contradicting the ones that I learned in childhood. And this is just one example. There could be so many beliefs that we have about motherhood, being a wife, being a woman, being a sister, being a cousin. There's everything that is said in childhood. A child's mind listens to it with zero analytical skills. And so it gets absorbed like a sponge. And then here we are, adults with physical conditions, with mood disorders, with our lives being up the hill battle all the time, and it doesn't have to be. So there's that for you. If you are interested, visit umlacademy.com, and all my programs and masterclasses are there. I do find them very helpful. Let's continue to traditional Chinese medicine. So this is the energetical world that we're going to address a bit. The patterns associated with polycystic ovary syndrome are kidney deficiency, phlegm dampness, my favorite, which is translated into candida, fungal infections. It could be visible or invisible, which is tricky to detect. Blood stasis, which is, of course, liver, and qi stagnation, which is also the liver. So in traditional Chinese medicine, okay, let's talk about the liver first. So the liver governs the blood, and it directs the blood. And we know in Western medicine that the liver filters out the blood. Basically, it is responsible for cleaning our blood, which is very connected in traditional Chinese medicine. And the liver also stores the emotion of anger. So if we carry any anger, any suppressed anger, any resentment, any grudges, it will affect how our liver meridian works, and we will experience pain. And because liver governs blood, it will affect if we have not enough menstrual flow or too much menstrual flow. And it's associated with many different symptoms, like, of course, abdominal pain, abdominal distension, headaches, because the anger kind of rises up, giving you a headache. So that's the energy that is always talking to you in your body. I always say this, that the body is a map. It always sends you signal, always, because we're all made of energy. Every single cell of ours is vibrating at all times. It's fascinating. And so in order for us to understand it, we have to learn to read the energy. And traditional Chinese medicine explains it beautifully because they teach meridians. So every part of the body is explained, which is fascinating because then we can understand. And I was suppressing my anger so much because as a little girl, I was told very early that good girls don't get angry, don't rebel, they don't misbehave. And I noticed how, okay, if I'll be a good girl, I'll be accepted. So I abandoned myself and my own emotions. And I didn't allow myself to ever feel angry because I wanted to be a part of a group. I wanted to be accepted. This is how I lost my authenticity. But guess what? After I turned 20, I moved out of my house, started living with my a future husband at the time. The liver went haywire. I've had one symptom after another. So it took many years for me to develop autoimmune diseases, but the liver issue started very early because my diagnosis of PCOS was at 21. So my energy was off back then very much. I wasn't aware of it. Who knew, right? Who knew? The things we learn. This is what fascinates me about life because it's a constant lesson. Okay, and then also kidney meridian, which is fear. And this is, again, we're going back to the fear. I am afraid I'll be a bad mother. I am afraid I will screw up my child's life and that my child will have to suffer just as I suffered. Guys, nobody consciously wants to say, oh, I'll give my child the same exact experiences I had, even though they were horrible, because I refused to work on myself and I refused to make any changes or improvements. We're so afraid we're going to repeat our parents' mistakes, and yet we end up repeating them because we don't know any better, because nobody taught us how to recognize our core beliefs. Nobody. This is a brand new. This is something that literally saved me years of therapy, and I was able to readdress my life because once you know your core beliefs, you can consciously make different decisions. And so right now I learned that I will never use silent treatment for my children because it was devastating for me as a child. And I received it almost daily. And it felt like I was dying inside and I didn't understand what was happening. And so I didn't know that, we could actually find the solution based on conversation and communication. So the fear will affect the kidney meridian, and kidney meridian is also responsible because it goes straight through your private parts. It also influences, it's one of the patterns, it's deficiency of the kidney that has a lot to do with the pattern of our menstrual period. It's our kidneys. Think of kidneys as your essence, as your energy to live, to thrive. You know, that little extra energy that you have every day, that's your kidneys. If they're well taken care of, they'll give you a good life. But if you are ruled by fear, if you are of this age where you're thinking of having children, but of course you're suffering with PCOS, so you know it's going to be difficult. Well, I'm here to tell you it's possible, because I had 3 children with having PCOS back then. And here's a fun story for you. So my third son was born in 2014, and before we conceived, I went to the doctor, to a gynecologist, because I think I had some pain issues, and they did an ultrasound, and they said, "Oh, well, your ovaries are not working because there's no ovaries left. It's just one cyst on top of the other. There's no movement there. There's like, you're not producing any eggs. You can't ever get pregnant." So I was like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "Oh, well, come back next month and we'll give you something so that maybe you can get pregnant." But we weren't planning on having a third child. But when they said that, we stopped using protection. So I come back to the doctor next month and they're like, "Oh, you're pregnant." I'm like, "Okay, you said you're going to give me something, and you said that I'll never get pregnant because my ovaries are basically not working." So this I call energy work. It was completely energetical. It was meant to happen. The complete stress was taken out of, and this is the beautiful tactic that I'm learning, that I'm digging deeper into. The moment you let go of what you want, that is when you get it. And so that was the time when I completely let go, because I was told, I believed I'm not going to get pregnant. So I completely let go of the idea, but I was ecstatic to have another child. I would have more of them if I could. But yeah, that's the story for you. So we want to make sure we're not afraid to be a mother. We want to make sure if you're consciously asking yourself if you're going to hurt your children, you won't. Because right away, you're addressing this differently than your mother did, than grandmother did. You're doing something different. You're asking yourself a question that will help you improve yourself. And that's what it's all about. We are here to improve our health, our mental stability, and our lives. So what can we do? So of course, herbal protocols that I will discuss in a moment, they work wonders. They work not only on a physical aspect of the body, they also address energy, because herbs are nature that enters the meridians and helps us resolve both emotions and calm the energy of the meridians. This is why I love herbal protocols. So support your emotions. I highly recommend therapy, workshops, educate yourself. So the first thing that I always tell everyone, Susan Forward, Toxic Parents, Mothers Who Don't Love. Those 2 books are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But what happened to me when I read Mothers Who Don't Love? I fell into a victim mode. Oh my, I started blaming. The reality of it was so horrible that it was like a depression waiting to happen. So right away, the universe guided me to radical forgiveness by Colin Tipping. Changed the whole thing. I was able to come out of my victim mode. I was able to learn. I was able to look at my whole life as a lesson and what I can learn from it, what I can improve. How can I be a better person? So those books in this order are a good way to go. And then, of course, there's a wonderful book by Mark Wallen, It Didn't Start With You. And it talks about how the energy of 3 generations always is affected. So grandma, mother, and you. Always carrying, because think about it. When your grandma was pregnant with your mother, she already had her eggs, which was you, in her. So 3 generations are always affected. And I had a lot of work to do to release a lot of fear from my grandmother, who was 5 years old when World War II happened, and she was right in the middle of it. And she survived. But she never addressed her fear, which was then passed along, which was then limiting my life in many ways. But that's a video waiting to happen on its own. So what did I do? I started with fundamental protocol, which is the king of all protocol, which I will discuss at the very end. But that's what I did. It's a 4-month protocol that addresses everything, everything. But if you do not want to commit to a 4-month protocol, if you want to start slow, what we always do is jumpstart kit, which is a 1-month protocol, which prepares your body for deeper cleansing. And then we address the liver, which is liver support kit. And there's a lot of kidney support kit support in there too. And also a metabolic support kit, because it has a lot to do with hormonal imbalance, with insulin resistance, with leptin resistance, with all fun, stubborn weight issues. So this is what I did. Again, I'm a cell course practitioner. If you are interested, DM me on Instagram, and we will work together to determine what is best for you. Okay, and then this is the fun part that I want to share with you, because it also happened to me. We have to address parasites. We do. If you have been diagnosed with PCOS, believe me, your doctors will never tell you this because they don't teach this in school. Pinworms are probably the most common worms if you have children school age, if you go to a store, a church, or a place where there's a lot of people. Pinworms' eggs are airborne, which means they're everywhere. And if you have great immune system, no problem. But if you're chronically stressed on a regular basis, guess what? That decreases your immune response, and you're more likely to get an infection. And they are very tricky to get rid of because they migrate. So they can migrate to the female genital tract and infest the ovaries. Think about it. They cause inflammation, abscesses, masses that can mimic ovarian cysts or tumors. Sometimes causes infertility. It is not rare at all. It is actually very, 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 very common. If you ever see a child scratching their butt, 100%, 100%, it doesn't happen otherwise. And they scratch everywhere. So I do actually deworm my family on a regular basis. We do it once a year, sometimes twice, depending. If I see them scratch, of course, I do it. So for pinworms specifically, there's over-the-counter medicine that we use, which is Rhesus. I think it's a Rhesus pinworm medicine. And then it's based on the weight. And then if you cannot just give it to your child, the entire household has to go through it. And then you have to clean. This is all in my masterclass, parasites and everything you need to know if you're more interested in that. But I want you to think about it. Dr. Hulda Clark. I want you to think about Dr. Hulda Clark. I have her book on my desk at all times, The Cure for All Diseases. If you read this book, you will be surprised. This is science. She was a doctor. It's based on all the scientific experiments she ever went through. And so she says, if the body produces a mass, a cyst, or any type of tumor, there's only one reason for it, because the body doesn't do it. Oh, I woke up today and I'm going to decide I'm going to give Lena 5 tumors on her face. It just doesn't happen like that. What really happens? Remember how I talked about metabolism and how the body always comes back to homeostasis and it always is regenerating itself? If a body sees a threat, like parasitic egg or a parasite, what it will do, it will catch it and put a protective tissue over it, thus causing a mass, a cyst, a tumor, whatever else you want to call it. Again, there's no information on that because doctors just are not trained on it, and they will not tell you. Nor if a doctor ever did a surgery on you to remove your cyst, do they give you that cyst back so that you can get it to the labs to get it checked out? No, they won't. Why? Because, well, then the truth is out. And this is probably the most physical aspect of polycystic ovary syndrome. If you went through school and you never dewormed at least once, I can assure you, and you have physical symptoms, any type of pain, any type of chronic disease, and you never did a parasite cleanse, I was in shock how fast my symptoms were going away after I did fundamental protocol. I was in shock. But of course, we are all different. We all have different symptoms. I also had a different genetic expression of my liver health. I was born with MTHFR gene mutation. I suffered jaundice at birth. And so my liver had issues. Let's just say that. I don't methylate properly. I do not detox properly. So my body, in order to stay this energetic and this healthy, I need extra work. Okay. But now I know what to do. I understand how my thoughts affect me. I understand how my emotions affect me. I know how to name all of my emotions. I know how to follow a good diet. I know how to do herbs because I'm an herbalist. So I've learned. I took my health into my own hands. I didn't just went to a doctor and said, okay, well, take care of me. Because guess what? They were treating me for PCOS until I got pregnant. So it wasn't for a couple of years that, and then they said, okay, once you have children, it will regulate itself. No, it didn't. It kept on coming back because I wasn't addressing my emotions. I didn't know about my beliefs. I didn't know about proper diet. I didn't know about proper supplementation. So there's many aspects to health. As you know, and I've told you, health is multidimensional. So let's start with the liver support kit. After Jumpstart Kit, we never order just liver support kit. Believe me, the purpose of that is to avoid herxing, a side effect of detox. Because when we support our detox pathways, and liver and kidneys is your major detox organs. So KL support, as you can see, that's kidney liver support. So once we start to support them, a lot of detox is happening. We want to avoid side effects like some people experience headaches, abdominal issues, nausea, digestive issues. If they didn't do a jumpstart kit, which is step one, we want to prepare the body always. Chances are you have constipation. Chances are your drainage pathways are clogged. We need to address that first before we dig deeper. So who is liver support kit for? People with gallstone issues, people with no gallbladder support, people with high liver enzymes, extended belly that just won't go away, hard time digesting fat, people with PCOS, hyper or hypothyroid, endometriosis. Why? Because all of those issues start in the liver. And if the liver struggles, we will see symptoms in the body. Anybody with PMSing, fibroids, gas, bloating, hives, itchy skin, rashes, and blood sugar issues. So anybody with those issues, this is a perfect place for you to start. Then let's talk about metabolic support kit. So we are looking at blood sugar regulation, and that's a big one with PCOS because almost everybody I knew with PCOS, including myself, had insulin resistance. But I didn't know that it was affected by high histamine and by lack of DAO enzyme. Anybody with cardiovascular issues, weight and metabolism issues, digestive problems, diabetes concerns, any type of hormonal imbalances, stubborn belly fat, low energy, chronic fatigue, low immunity, body temperature issues. Do you know that one person that always has like really cold hands, really cold feet, and always, and especially in winter, it's reacting to cold? That's thyroid issues. So we should address both. But hair loss, that's a big one too. And it's very common with PCOS. And after I've done fundamental protocol twice, I've done the liver support kit, and then I did metabolic support kit just because I knew that this is something that I was still struggling with. Foundational protocol. Guys, there's no better protocol. This is the king of all protocols. So you get 4 boxes. Each box is for 1 month. There's directions included. If you have any questions, you come to me and I help you with that. So it addresses energy and drainage, which is your jumpstart kit. Gut and immune support, whole body immune support, and systemic detox. Now, I always say this, you don't know you have parasites until step 2. And this is true. So foundational protocol will address everything. It goes beyond what we think. It addresses the microbiome in the gut, any type of bacterial imbalances, viral imbalances, candida. It addresses the heavy metals, and of course, good old parasites that we talked about. And guys, you are in a surprise if you ever really the title of this book, The Cure for All Diseases. Yeah, I'm a firm believer. I am. This was one of the major steps that helped me regain my health. And I am in full remission from 9 autoimmune diseases. And this is a true story. I am here as a testimonial to that. And I am sharing with you what worked on me. So, another way that we can address polycystic ovary syndrome directly is vaginal ozone suppositories. And I use Pure O3, which is pureo3.com, and discount code MAMALENA if you are interested. What I've used is hemp oil suppositories and castor oil suppositories. I know some people also like the olive oil. It just depends on the way that they add the ozone to them. It's a different concentration. But what it does, it supports on-site. Parasites cannot live in highly alkaline environment, and ozone makes it very alkaline. So it creates perfect conditions for your body to heal. And plus it's oil, which means it's slippery, which means the pinworms cannot attach anywhere. So this was a great tool that I utilized in my healing. And oh my goodness, guys, I felt better. I just felt better. And I still use them. It's a great tool just to support because they overall help in cleansing. As you know, our menstrual period is like a self-cleansing mechanism every month. So in between, I would use them. I know they're great to use after intercourse just to get that extra clean feeling. So this is something I actually used specifically for this reason, because even after children, my cysts kept on coming back. Now, the testing that you can do to help yourself that doctors don't talk about is, of course, micronutrient testing, which is not popular and insurance doesn't cover it, which will tell you exactly what's the status of your vitamins. And we want to know how much vitamin C do we have, vitamin K, vitamin E. Notice how your doctor will only check for vitamin D, sometimes B12 if you're super fatigued. That's about it. What about B6? What about B2? What about B3? What about B9? We need to know those things. Another great test to do is HTMA. And if you're interested, I can send you a link. It's hair tissue mineral analysis test, which is a test on your hair that you submit a piece of your hair, and it will tell you in detail exactly how many minerals you have, what is too much, what is not enough, what to supplement. Don't guess, always test. And then I did bioresonance testing, which was highly informative. I do believe in it. Bioresonance testing is like a testing of the vibrations in the body. But again, some people don't believe in it. I did. It was very helpful. It told me what I can and cannot eat, which was a great help and brought a lot of relief for me because I didn't know. I didn't know that I couldn't have high histamine foods. And one of the first things that it showed was that I shouldn't or should never eat yeast. Yeah. Especially those of us who suffered with yeast infections. Now, histamine testing. If you do suspect you may have histamine issues, if you have frequent allergies, food intolerances, if you react to things, when you go to your doctor for your yearly checkup, ask for them to add fasting histamine serum from your blood, and they can also check it from your urine. And that way they can determine whether or not you have histamine intolerance, because you may. And of course, I always say do a genetic testing, but genetic testing is expensive. It is worth it though. I would highly recommend doing the main, because there's so many genes, but they do I think the main 8 ones. Other modalities that I used, red light therapy. I use Orion RLT and the discount code again is MAMALENA. It's wonderful. You guys, near infrared light. I cannot say enough about it. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I do it almost daily and I always post about it because this is how much relief I get from inflammation. And because I have MTHFR gene mutation, because I'm still working on my environment inside and out, I do tend to get allergies. And so this calms the allergies right down. It's amazing modality to use every single day. It's available right to you. It's the best investment I probably made. Acupuncture, go see your local acupuncturist, give them a chance. The only thing that I always say is ask them if they practice Qigong, because you can't fix energy if you don't see energy. So that's the only recommendation that I have. Therapy, counseling, amazing tool that you can utilize to understand the emotions, to fix your relationship with your mother, and to become the best mother that you can possibly be. Now, recall healing coaching coming in 2026. I will be opening up coaching spaces one-on-one to help you uncover the emotional issues, not the beliefs. The beliefs you have to work on yourselves. And that's why I created the program that is already available for you. And you can go and check it out right now. Also, do immune support. Cold plunges are great. Cold showers. Try it. Google Wim Hof. It's an amazing modality. And so my last story with my polycystic ovary syndrome. So the last cyst that I had was in 2016, and it was a cyst of a tennis ball. And how do I know about it is because I was suffering with some pain on my right side. And so I went to see doctor. They're like, okay, well, we don't know what it is, so let's send you to a surgeon, right? They thought, oh, maybe it's hernia. And then the surgeon was like, I don't see anything there. I can't feel any hernia. So why don't we do a CT scan? And I said, okay, well, that scan almost actually killed me because they did contrast and they didn't know that I am allergic to everything and I don't detox well. So I was suffering for 3 days on high antihistamines. So now we know. But the scan showed a huge cyst of the size of a tennis ball. So guys, like tennis ball. And in that time, I was doing winter swimming, and I was doing herbs, and I was doing meditation. I was going to a meditation group. I was a student of Neidan Qigong, which I'm still a practitioner of, and I teach it. There's a free meditation on my website if you are interested in starting. And one day, I felt the cyst burst. And I felt burning, I can name it burning. And I literally felt the liquid move in my leg. I was kind of scared, but I just trusted the process at that point, because I know sometimes it can be dangerous and I don't want you to ignore any symptoms. I had no pain though. So that's why I didn't do anything with it. But then the next week I went to get an ultrasound because they're like, okay, well, we couldn't find any other reason for the pain. But the lady just said, oh, the cyst is gone. She said she saw some remains of it, but she said it's gone. And I was like, I felt it. I felt it burst. And then my body just healed. And I didn't understand back then that they would keep on coming back unless I supported my liver, unless I supported my kidneys, unless I started doing the parasitic cleanses, the suppositories, unless I changed my mindset on motherhood, because my body was just receiving signals of what I was thinking. So I addressed it all. And so far, since that time in 2016, so it's been what? It's been 10 years that I haven't had a cyst or an issue or pain or any delay in my period, which, before they were like, oh, once they come, it was never regular. My period was like every 32 to 35 days. Now it's like 28 days on a clock. I always mark it in the calendar. It's crazy how it's never late more than a day. Sometimes it's a day early, depending on the cycle, because of course our periods are very connected to the full moon, which is next thing that I want to talk to you about. So we ladies, we are very, very much connected to the moon because it's feminine energy and it's the night and it's the yin aspect of the earth. And so the easy way to see if you're in the right place is how do you feel on full moon? Just take a note. Okay, whatever day, notice in the calendar, whatever day it is, full moon, be aware if that day your symptoms are worsening, you have any mood issues, or you have new symptoms that you haven't had before, or you get irritated, or there's something off, because that will tell us whether or not you have enough amounts of serotonin, which is a happy hormone produced in your intestines. And that's when all the little critters that we don't know about come out and feast on it. And that's why we get irritated, because normally a healthy person on full moon, there's so much beautiful energy. We should be flowing, happy, energetic, creative. But if you're just sitting there with a headache, with lack of appetite, irritated, abdominal issues, then this is something to consider. Also, for us ladies, it is very important to notice, where are we with our cycle in a full moon schedule. So sometimes we're closer with our period to full moon, sometimes we're closer to the new moon, and those have two different meanings. So the new moon, it's more of a motherly, it's more of a creation phase in your life, versus if you're closer to full moon, that's the wisdom, aka the witch, the wisdom, the knowledge. You're very connected into informational part of the world. So that also tells you a lot about where you are, and it can change. Because what my period used to do, I would get it one day late and then it switched itself. And it does that because when you're a mother, it is better to be in the creative state, which is full moon, because that really, you create life. So that really made sense to me when I found out that we're so connected to the full moon. So thank you so much. This is all the information I have for you, but I do want to mention one more thing before we go. I do want to talk to you about, so the book that I recommended, Mark Wallen, It Didn't Start With You. It's a wonderful way to see how our relationship with our parents affect our everyday health, everyday life. Even if they are not alive right now, it doesn't matter, because it's the way you feel about them. So his book is about a guy who was losing his eyesight, and his doctors were not giving him a chance. And so he went on this spiritual journey to see all the gurus that he could find, to ask them what's going on, how he can, get his eyesight back. And medically, it was not possible because he had so much damage in his eyes. But every spiritual teacher told him to go back home, and he didn't understand it. And so the entire idea of the book was that you cannot fix your health if you hold grudges against your parents. If you hold a grudge against one of your parents, it's like holding a grudge against 50% of you, because you are 50% your mother, 50% your father. So if we hold grudges, if we continue to have some kind of issue with the parent, whether both parents or just one parent, we are literally sabotaging ourselves and blocking ourselves. So those books are extremely helpful, especially Radical Forgiveness, because it teaches you how everything is a lesson, and it helps you change the perspective. Guys, I am here to tell you that yes, I reversed PCOS without using Western medicine at all. I addressed the physical aspect, I addressed the emotional aspect, and I addressed the energetical aspect, because I meditate, because I am in that energetic world, and I understand how our energy is just a reflection of how we think, which everything is connected and multidimensional. So this is an important part of healing, guys. If you do have any questions, like I said, please DM me. I'm on Instagram, available to you. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I want you to have a happy healing, and also visit umlacademy.com, where all my programs are available, all my books, How I Reversed Autoimmune Diseases, Embrace Your Inner Goddess, and the Red Flags, because within our relationships, a lot of our environment, we are unaware that there is something that is off, and it affects our genetic expression. So I want you to be aware of that, and I keep on creating tools to help you on your journey. I always include what helped me, because I am always experimenting on myself first, and then I share with you guys whatever works with me. For those of you who follow me, you know this very well. Again, if you want to try the herbal protocols, please DM me and I'll send you the link to sign up with me. And I am available for all of your questions regarding those protocols. Anything that may come up that you are unsure of or unaware of, I want you to have a greater understanding about it. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.